Yo guys, welcome back to Undefeated at Locals. It's the boys, Marvin. I got Michael. You guys may know him as Asmodee on the Discord. Part of Undefeated at Locals. UAL Auxiliaries is what he'll tell you. But we got him here with us discussing his upcoming trip to Nationals, how he's prepped for it, and the top 5 characters he expects to see there. How are we doing, Michael? What are we doing leading up to Nationals?
We are doing good. We are having last-minute anxiety attacks about my deck list and trying to make minor changes without, ruining my reps. So
trying not to hard swap to Mineta too.
Yeah, we're not. I'm not bringing other character cards, so I'm locking myself in.
Hell yeah!
It's just a whole deck box full of flex slots that I'm going to be playing with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's get right into your top 5 expected. We're going to start from the bottom up. We got Pony here, a character that you and I have worked on together quite often. She's seen a wide amount of success from each of us. Tell us about Pony.
Yeah, so Pony is who you play if you want to top cut an event that ends right before Star Wars Locals.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I've been told. Yeah. That's the play.
Hell yeah.
Pony's really good. If you want to be playing an aggro deck in this format, I think Pony is one of the 2 ways you can go. The 7-handers are a little rough to play right now because of all the big numbers coming out, but Pony can block string pretty effectively, and her offensive turns get ridiculous with just drawing a million cards, playing a million attacks. Like you said, you and I both played Pony at the Atlanta Regional. We both missed our win-ins, but the deck was feeling strong, and then just got better with Attack on Titan 2 and Lethal Slash. So, yeah, Pony's crushing it. I know a bunch of people are taking her. I expect her to be, at the very least, in the pie slice, if not 1 or 2 copies in the top cut.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I fully expect more and more people to bring her to the events now that we've actually seen her top cut like several after like the Lethal Slash thing. So yeah, very, very solid pick for Nationals. Definitely something you should prep for. Next up, we have Combined Firepower. This is definitely a character.
Definitely a character. Combined Firepower is really just the death aggro archetype. If you want to be playing an aggro character that isn't Pony, this is the other way to go. But when you're playing this, the character you run doesn't matter as much. So I've played against Combined Firepower Not, Combined Firepower Kenny, Combined Firepower Vash, Wolfwood, all these characters who are doing basically the same game plan on the death symbol with all the bingo cards, as we call them, that when they hit your discard pile, you get to do an extra effect, and just really trying to rush that turn 2 kill through. I expect a lot of this. It's not going to be on the pie chart as much because it will be under different characters, but this basic strategy is something that you need to be prepared for, or you might just want to bring.
Yeah, no, for sure. We have even more characters that are able to accomplish this now. One of them on the screen with us is like Bert 2. He can be like a Death Casino deck. We got Hanj that can be a Death Casino deck. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like, you won't see this in the chart, but that's because it will be 15 of the 50 others decks that you can look at when they release it. So yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Next up, somebody that has just been absolutely dominating this format recently is Mimic.
So Mimic right now is kind of a response to the next 2 characters we're going to talk about, who are both presenting these board wipe options. Mimic gets to play on so few foundations because you get to abuse other resources. Things like Soup really push Mimic over the edge. Trigger itself is 3 resources over the turn cycle. It's kind of insane. And Mimic gets to both do the damage reduction defense, the chaos momentum stuff, the aggressive attack turns. Kind of just does it all right now. And with the success we saw in the Oceanic regionals, I think that kind of put Mimic back on the map a little bit. And it's been enough time where NA players have had the time to pick up the deck then and get the reps in and make those additional tweaks and really come out in full force for Dallas. So yeah, I'm expecting to be a lot of Mimics there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Things like soup, like, man, there are just so many things that have increased what this character was already capable of. And, like, Mimic never even got bad. People just, like, kind of stopped playing the deck because he wasn't
Yeah.
getting enough new tools. Now that AOT2 has given him so many new options, an attack that builds an asset out of your card pool, absolutely insane stuff. So, yeah, I definitely expect this guy to be there in mass. Maybe even like you have it here as the top. Like I could see any of these top three being the most registered deck. We'll get into your
Yeah.
second option being Burt 2. This guy has had kind of like a roller coaster in the format. When he was first
A little
revealed,
bit,
we
yeah.
saw like a huge amount of people like this guy's broken. He's going to see the most play. He kind of like took a downturn, and then we saw at these last two nationals, namely the EU one for sure. This guy like just again dominated a format there, right?
Yeah, and what was really interesting about the EU nationals was I think it was 3 Burt decks made top 8, and they all looked very different. Like they're all
Yeah.
Death Bertolt decks, so they have that in common, of course. But one person was playing combined firepower. The attack lineups were all very different. Sideboards were all over the place. Just so much variety is going into this character, and I think part of that is because character itself is so powerful in the format right now. So you get your really consistent turns with your draw 2, discard 2 every attack, free damage reduction, and then of course the board wipe. Once you flip with Burt, if you get to start that turn and your opponent doesn't have a hard counter ready for you to like stuff your card pool or something, they're just dead. Burt really creates a lot of non-games in his favor, which is something you really want to do in a competitive format like this, especially like a 9-round event. You want as many free wins as possible in those early rounds, and then try to push through into the top cut. And that is what Burt is doing. It's easily going to be top 2 registered characters, probably going to be 2 most copies in the top cut.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, Europe really showed some interesting stuff. I've been like screaming about this character, like how, like, I'll admit it, I was like completely wrong. I've been screaming about how this character is impossible to kill on his front side. Like, there's no way he finds the option. And I guess the entirety of Europe took that personally and showed me live on stream that this guy has so many options on his front side as long as you build your deck towards it.
And I think that was kind of the response to Mimic rising in popularity is, in my somewhat limited testing with Bertolt against Mimic, if Mimic establishes a stage, it doesn't matter if you flip. He has so many counters to what you're doing, he can just lock you out of the game, and most of the time, you're at 9 foundations and he's at like 3 or 4, so you're going down 6 foundations when you flip, and he's going down 1, maybe, and still has all these resources. So that counter there kind of leads to the more aggressive Bertolt decks that can kill on the front side. Yeah. So slightly different attack packages that let them do those turn 2 aggro kills.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. They just like relied on Mimic only having 25 life, and it's just like, what if I turn to you instead of you establishing a board state? Yeah, no. Yeah, I like that a lot. And then next up, somebody that has not, like, this guy has not been a roller coaster. This guy has been, like, probably the most steady character since he released Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Yeah, 36 health is a lot.
Yeah.
And 3 damage on everything is a lot, and plus 2 to your check is a lot. And then he also has this board wipe form, which really doesn't come up that often, but when it does, it's just that, back pocket board wipe that he has to get through the control matchups. Just surprisingly versatile at what he does, both defensive in his health pool and aggressive with all his other text. One of the best chaos decks out there. The way I see it is cards have gotten a little more expensive in this game compared to when I started playing, and it was just the first 3 MHA sets. But you probably either own the Chaos expensive cards or the Fire Attuned expensive cards, and that's kind of going to decide if you're playing Burt or Godzilla.
Where you're going to be at. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, like I sold my Walk the Dogs and I'm not buying back in, so Godzilla's off the table, and that's
Yeah, yeah, I traded
Like we
them
should
all
make
to a
episode one.
local, and I completely agree. We're stuck on Pony because we own things like
Mm-hmm.
Feral Shriek and Wishheart.
Yeah, we got our feral shrieks early because we knew the sauce, obviously,
Yeah.
and now we're stuck with them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely agree with that sentiment for sure. That's going to be like a lot of the game right now. But yeah, this
Yeah.
top 5 looks like extremely solid. I think that all of these characters plus combined firepower decks will most certainly be the 5 most featured things in the NA Nationals. But now we get to talk about Michael's pick, and a little teaser here. He's going to be currently the only one that I'm recording a video with that took his top 5 and was like, yeah, I should play one of these characters, not something else.
Yeah. I didn't want to at the beginning, to be honest. I was doing a lot of testing with Mineta 2, who I think is really well positioned into the format, having that speed reset on face and just all the stuff you do against aggro decks. I really love where the deck got to with the water build, but then I was playing in one of the last webcam events, and you just couldn't finish games in time. If the round timer was like 90 minutes instead of 60, I would be bringing Mineta to this event and having a blast, but because it's not, you have to play something that's really going to finish games and get those free wins and have a similar power level. And yeah, I'm playing Bertolt.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting because, like, we're not going to show his deck list here. He just picked, like, a couple of, like, his spicy cards that he wants to talk about. But I will spoil a little bit. I've heard so much talk in the last couple of days in the Discords of, like, these EU lists. And everybody's like, oh my god, I'm so surprised to see a Burt at a normal attack lineup. And I'm not, because I've tested with Michael, and his Burt is also at a normal attack lineup. Has always been. So it looks like he kind of got the... You set the trend there, man. Like, you got the jump on what Burt should be doing.
Yeah, maybe I'm one step ahead. We'll see. I really based a lot of my strategy around George Zhang took a list to the webcam invitational that David and Tam ran a couple weeks back, and it was really heavily focused on just getting Weapon Clash into play and then flipping it and unflipping it and getting that turbo 9 foundations. So, like, he was able to present 9 foundations on turn 2 sometimes, which is crazy for a 5-hand.
Yeah.
So I took that and kind of ran with it and made some tweaks.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Like, wielding One for All, Attack Titan, Emergence, like you're running Axe in your list, right? Enormous Axe?
Yeah, so you're on 4 Axe easily, because you get to Attack Titans Emerges, destroy Axe, build off the top, build in Weapon Clash, enhance Weapon Clash, and basically just up 2 foundations there. You follow it up with a wielding One for All, and then your next attack is going to flip that Weapon Clash again. You just really get to turbo out these foundations, and then maybe even like build some more into your card pool and then flip, and just really get that aggro turn early.
Yeah, for sure. No, this makes a whole lot of sense for Nationals. I truly believe that, like, the first couple events we saw in the year was just people not wanting to play this deck. It was not a show of this deck being bad or people really being able to tech for it. Sure, you've got things like Mimic and stuff. You have your hard matchups, but I don't think this guy ever has an impossible matchup with what he's able to accomplish. And yeah, no, I think that this would be like top 3 like choices for me if I was heading into Nats as well.
Yeah, I think another part of why it wasn't showing up as much early is because a lot of people thought that they like got the right build immediately, but as we've seen since then, there's so many different things you can do with the character in that attack lineup foundations that are really different gameplays. There are people who are on the turbo flip plan like I'm trying to do. There's people on the never flip plan, and really you probably want to find some balance in between, which is I think what the gentleman who won in Europe was able to achieve. And that's kind of how you get through some of those matchups that are trying to heck you with the card pool stuffing on the back end.
Yeah, that guy's deck had like a really good like pivot point in certain matchups whenever he needed it, which was very, very cool to see. That's what I like so much about like decks like Pony, and like Burt is like very Pony shaped in like I don't know where my turn's going, neither do you. It could go anywhere. I could flip, I could not flip. I might just kill you with 2+ damage on my front side. Very, very cool stuff. Heading into the event, what are some matchups that you want to see versus matchups you don't want to see?
I I want to play against people who have never played against Bert before. There probably won't be very many of them, but it's always a fun time when they have to like read what your character does.
Yeah, if you flip your character and your opponent asks to read it, you're in a pretty good spot. Yeah.
Yeah. But really, I've been doing pretty well into a lot of like the turn 2 aggro decks. I've beaten a bunch of ponies. I've beaten a lot of combined firepower decks. I'm mostly worried about a Mimic. I have not taken a game off of Mimic and testing yet, so I've been looking at like, do I want to devote a lot of sideboard slots to this? Do I want to change my attack a bit? There's a few changes I'm going to be doing going into the event, but that's a matchup that I really just want to dodge entirely. Fair. And then surprisingly, Byakko is another one that like I can take games off them if I kind of rush the turn 2 flip, but they do so much damage, and you can only give them -2 at a time. So I've tested 2 matches against Byakkos and lost both of them pretty handily. So I don't think there's going to be that many people showing up with it, but it is really scary.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, everything's for 10 in that character, and like if they're a good Byakko, they're like they're flipping your weapon clashes and stuff before you can. So they're even like kind of preventing your flip. They're a 5-hander, so they're certainly not building to 9 against you ever.
Yep, and like you still have to count to 38, which is pretty tough to do on the.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, no, I could see that being a pretty poor matchup. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, though. I have full faith in you being able to top 8 this event and punch your ticket to Worlds. To end this little video and like meet the team segment, where we have 2 fun questions for you. We'll start with the cool one. What is your favorite card in all of UniVersus?
It's an easy answer. It is my favorite character in the game, the character that qualified me for Nationals last year, the character that took me to regional win-ins twice, barely missed both times, but that's going to be Nato Monoma, best character in the game because he's every character. I got hooked on that guy so fast. He's so cool. I wish he was better. There was this very brief point in the My Hero meta when 5-handers were really popular, like Nomu especially was just such a good matchup for him, and decks were playing much more generic attack lineups, so like I was playing, punches or tongue whips or whatever on life and doing fine with it, just giving them +1 damage and running with it, and then taking whatever my opponents was doing, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. And like they nerfed Monoma 2 ban announcements ago because he was kind of running wild with it.
Yeah, he sure was. All of these Titan abilities popping off.
Yeah, crazy. But he actually has a really funny interaction with Bertolt. If it's your turn and it gets to a point where Bertolt would do the response and flip, then if you've taken his abilities, you can respond first, and the board wipe happens, but neither of you flip.
That's hilarious.
Which is, it's incredible. So I'm taking Monoma, a deck with me to Nationals. I'm going to play it in a team event if I can get a team together willing to take me on. It's going to be a good time.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. You're the only one I've talked to that picked a character, and that's pretty dope.
Characters are the cool cards.
Yeah, characters are the best. That's what we build our deck around.
Yeah.
And then the next question, and maybe you'll answer it with a character here as well. If you could ban one card right before the event that you're headed into, which card would be banned for NA Nationals?
Right before is a tough constraint there, because the card I would want to ban is definitely Bertolt 2, who I am playing. So I wouldn't want to go into the event with only a Monoma deck on me. Fair. Yeah, Bertolt really kind of messed up the format in a weird way. So traditionally at broad strokes, how metagames go in card games is you have the aggro decks who are trying to win, in this case 2, then the decks trying to be one step ahead of them, have some defense, then win turn 3. The decks that are one step ahead of them have some defense for the turn 3, win turn 4. And you get to this rock, paper, scissors where it's like, you want to be the person who is trying to win 1 turn later than your opponent or 2 turns before your opponent.
Yeah.
And then you get this Bertolt and to a lesser extent Godzilla, these characters that have this built-in board wipe. So now these are the turn 3 decks, so they're just getting that edge over the turn 2 decks. But the turn 4 decks, if they kind of set up, you have this board wipe available, and you reset them, and you get this other chance to either get under them or go over the top with the the backside of Bertolt, which is insane. And it's kind of taking out a lot of the diversity in the meta as a result. So if you have a bunch of like turn 2, turn 3, turn 4 decks, then within that you'll get a lot more like character diversity and symbol diversity of like, okay, how am I going to win on turn 2? How am I going to stall the board and win on turn 4 or 5 or whatever? But because there's this kind of like gate at the turn 3 deck that Bert has introduced, you're just losing a lot of competitive viability elsewhere, which is a shame.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree with that. Like, not only has it like pushed decks out, but like he also pushed some of these decks up, right? Like Chaos, like the Chaos Good stuff, most of this stuff has existed for months in our format. It's been mostly the same deck list. Mimic only really like gaining like Soup and like the card that builds like that builds an asset, which like sure those things are good, but like he was already playable. We just chose not to play him. We chose to play these other decks, and now that Bertolt 2 is here, everybody's flocking to the Mimics, the Godzillas of the world, to try to beat his board wipe, beat him to a board wipe even.
Yeah, exactly, because like now it gets to this point where you're kind of playing the Boogeyman of Bertolt 2 or the counter to the Boogeyman, and then like you can try to play the counter to that, but then you lose to the popular deck, which is Bertolt. And it's, you know, it's a rock, paper, scissors game where, you know, you only have 2 fingers. I don't know the metaphor here.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I've had a lot of fun in the format. I don't agree with everybody that's like, this is the worst format we've ever seen, I don't want to play the game. But like, there's definitely some changes to be made, and Bert is like, yeah, probably the tip top of my list there as well. I have not struggled into this character too much, but like, you can't say that he like hasn't warped the format like in so many major ways. So yeah, ban Bert right before Nats, and then Michael will play Mineta 2.
Well, he won't be in my suitcase. I'll be out of luck. Monoma or bust.
Yeah, but yeah, any last shout-outs that you want to make before we end? Thank you so much for coming on screen here with us.
Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to support the team, of course. I have a very small YouTube channel where I've been posting some videos about the game and some of the kind of like level up moments I've had in becoming a more competitive player, and just talking about those, some like strategy stuff. It's over at Angry Jellyfish Games. I think that's how you plug a YouTube.
Yeah, we'll be adding you in the title as well. Go learn how to make a sideboard, guys. I watched his video. I'm not kidding either. This is not hyperbole. This is not me trying to shout him out. I watched his sideboard video before topping the webcam event. I may have won it. I just had to go play Star Wars locals, but actually insane amount of help even when it came to me learning how to side in a game. Let him teach you.
Yeah, there's I've been playing card games for 20 years, and you learn a lot in that time, and a lot of stuff translates from one card game to another, and I'm just out here trying to draw those comparisons and get more competitive knowledge out there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so go watch those videos, get those views up. You can also follow me on Blue Sky, where I post sometimes about this game or about movies or whatever, at Osmati42 at Blue Sky, however those tags work. And you can always catch me in the Discord. I'm usually there talking about deck list or telling people not to play bad cards, that sort of thing.
Hell yeah. You will find the links to all of Asmati's socials and his YouTube channel. His YouTube channel should be a clickable link in the title of this video. And yeah, catch him at Nationals. He should be wearing the Undefeated at Locals jersey. Very, very easy to spot. He's always down. The whole team's always down to talk to the whole community. We love you guys so much. We always have a blast when we travel there. So good luck at Nationals, my man. I know you'll top it, and join me at Worlds.
That's right.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace out.